That's good.
All right, guys, let's kick this video off. Had the wrong thumbnail right there. Anyways, let's get it kicked off here. Got the Waste Management Phoenix Open going live here. Just gonna be going over the plays as always. The picks, value plays, GPP plays, FanDuel values, and Yahoo values as always. As we're going, if you have any questions, make sure to get those in. I can pull those up. And going forward, just so you guys know, I will be starting to put a tweet out there on Wednesday, maybe even before that, just to get some specific questions highlighted that I can cover in the live video, just so that if you're not here, you can at least play it back and see the question answered. But just doing a quick recap of the previous video. So I did start to take a different look at some of the stats as well. I'm still going with the core stats that I was going off of and the secondary stats that I was going off of, but I did want to look at the other picture of things, kind of just to confirm some of my plays or confirm some of the worries with some of my plays. So originally I was looking at greens and regulation, which doesn't really factor in too much at this course, but typically I always like to look at that as a stat. Then I was looking at strokes gained total, which week to week, that's going to be a good stat for you to look at. When I went back to look at stats to get that confirmation, I looked at strokes gained off the tee to replace strokes gained total. And then I looked at proximity instead of greens and regulation. Some players that really popped then were actually Bubba Watson. He was the one that popped the most, but I'll touch on some of the other plays as we go on in this video. Going to start off with the top tier until I get into some specific plays for you guys. Let's bring the microphone closer. I apologize for that. Hopefully the audio wasn't too bad. So the first play, obviously, Jon Rahm's going to be a phenomenal play. If you look at all of his stats, his recent form, his course history, that's going to be a great play for you this week. A play that I do want to bring up first, though, is going to be Bubba Watson here. So Bubba Watson, if you look at his course history, it aligns perfectly with his struggles when he had the old golf ball. And if you guys don't know, he was playing a Volvic golf ball in 2017, and he really struggled. And that was kind of the start of the phase of what's inside the golf ball or the makeup of the golf ball. You see a lot of people talking about it. I've done a couple of videos on YouTube about it as well. But Bubba Watson, T4 last year, T40 the year before that, miscut in 2017, the golf ball year, and then T14 the year before that. So he has great course history, especially if you take out that one bad year with the golf ball. Then he's just a great stat fit. I mean, he is starting to check all the boxes, especially if you go back and look at those other stats that I was looking at as well, kind of for that confirmation. I really like him as a play this week. I do like the price point quite a bit, and there is another site that I'm going to be playing him a lot more. And the thing with Bubba is, I'm talking about that golf ball. There's another play that worries me now because some news broke today. So the news broke that Ricky Fowler was going to be playing this new TP5X golf ball designed for him specifically. Now, I'm guessing that he's been gaming this golf ball quite a bit, and he knows what to expect from it. But whenever a golfer switches equipment or a golf ball, that does worry me slightly. I'm not going to lie. I'm taking some of my ownership from Ricky and bringing it more towards like Webb or Hideki a little bit. Not too much. I'm not getting crazy with it, but it is a little bit worrisome. I believe last year when Ricky had switched golf balls as well, he started to struggle a little bit. Now, the missed cut last week doesn't worry me at all. Obviously, he has great course history. I do expect him to make the cut. I'm just not sure he's going to be able to return, the third-ranked player value at that price point, especially with the concerns with the new golf ball. Now, obviously, I'm not too worried about that. We did have a specific question coming in between Bubba Watson and Gary Woodland. So I'm leaning towards Bubba Watson a lot more. I do like the stats a little bit more. Now, it really just depends on what you're looking at. So if you're looking at just greens and regulation and not proximity, Gary Woodland's your guy. And also if you're looking at just strokes gained total, it's kind of a push. But if we bring in the strokes gained off the tee, it actually is going to favor Bubba Watson. So I do like Bubba Watson a little bit more than Gary Woodland. Honestly, Pga DFS comes down to those 50-50 choices. Last week I had a lineup where it was, I forgot what I entered in, but pretty much I was deciding between Grillo or Mark Leishman. I ended up going Grillo, and obviously we know how that one turned out, but that's pretty much Pga DFS is trying to figure out those 50-50 decisions. So I do like Webb quite a bit more than Hideki this week, but I really do like Hideki as well. Obviously Hideki's a 2-time winner here. But Webb has just been on a roll, 16 straight made cuts. The likelihood for Webb to make the cut is a lot more likely than it is for Hideki. I would go Webb, but obviously that's pretty much a toss-up. I like those both if I can get them both into my build. I've been trying to do that. That's kind of my studs and duds approach this week, is getting Webb and Hideki into the same build for GPPs. That's been my strategy there. Another play that I want to bring up as well is because I talk about that secondary, stat poll that I did. Harry Higgs is popping on both of them. It's pretty crazy. The stats actually got better when I did the secondary look, which really it was only him and Bubba Watson where the secondary stats got better. I'll answer that question in a second there, Josh. Let me finish up with Harry Higgs here. But the stats are just phenomenal. The recent form isn't really bad. T9 missed cut, but he fired off at -7. We'll take that. That's really not that bad. Obviously, he wasn't playing poorly there. He just wasn't playing good enough. And I think it was his first time playing in that event at that week, so he didn't really know what score he had to fire off completely. And then he had a T57 and then a T35. So I do really like Harry Higgs this week quite a bit. Going back to the question about Webb Simpson there. So am I worried about his high ownership? So if you're just playing cash, I really wouldn't worry about it too much. He should be high owned this week, and I hope he doesn't pull the Gary Woodland on us this week, but I like the play a lot better this week for Webb than I did for Gary last week. And I really liked Gary Woodland last week. Yeah, I don't know what the ownership on Justin Thomas is. He's not really getting talked up too much. He probably should be. He really does like this event quite a bit. He really gets pumped up from the crowd at this event. His course history is fine. A third, T17, and then 2 missed cuts prior to that. Obviously, we know who Justin Thomas is as a player. If he's playing well, he's going to go on and get a top 5 finish most likely. The thing with Justin Thomas is there's really no point of paying up for Justin Thomas when you can go with John Rahm, who's slightly higher, and his outcome is a little bit easier to predict. Or you can just go down to Webb, Ricky, Hideki. Heck, you could go down to Bubba Watson as well, which, those are all plays that we like this week. So, that'd be the route that I would go. I think that's why Justin Thomas isn't getting talked up that much. And then obviously he hasn't played in forever. So that factors in as well. I'm going to go down to a couple of interesting plays. So we got Denny McCarthy here or Adam Hadwin. This was a specific question that I had on the Twitter page as well. So Denny McCarthy or Adam Hadwin. So at the start of the week on Monday, I was really geared in on Denny McCarthy. And now I've kind of switched up and pretty much did 50-50, McCarthy and Hadwin and GPPs. I've been making a ton of lineups where I'm just flipping those two in and out, trying to make the most optimal lineup by including one or both of those two. The reason why I like Denny McCarthy is because you look at the stats, from the main poll that I did, the first poll that I did, he is an excellent stat fit. So is Adam Hadwin, but Dan McCarthy is slightly better than Hadwin. Obviously, he's been playing a lot more recently. His recent form's pretty solid. 9 straight made cuts. Course history is pretty good. That's Adam Hadwin's course history. My bad there. Didn't change it. Denny McCarthy's course history is a T33. That's all he has. He hasn't played this course 4 times in the last 4 years. So he only has a T33 finish. But Adam Hadwin's course history is really good. But Adam Hadwin hasn't played in a while, so we don't exactly know what to expect from him. But I do think that Hadwin was starting to trend downwards because he had been playing quite a bit. So he's had time to rest. I think he'll be ready to go this week, hopefully. We never know exactly how a player is going to respond from not playing after a while. I do typically like to play someone that has been playing. You know, if it's pretty much a 50-50 decision like it is this week, I'm going with McCarthy. Oh, that's a cool storyline. Hadwin's wife just had a kid. That's a really cool storyline, actually. You would imagine that he's a little bit more motivated to do well. I like that. Now you're bringing in another 50-50. That's tough. I think I'm leaning towards Denny McCarthy, but honestly, I don't think we can make a wrong choice there. That's what we're hoping for. I really like both of those plays quite a bit. They are definitely underpriced. Got a question about Brian Harman this week. Let's pull that one up. All right, so Brian Harman, I really do like as a play this week. Let me pull up his stats here. One sec. So trying to decide between Corey Connors, Jason Kokrak, Brian Harman, Daniel Berger, Russell Knox, Keegan Bradley, Kevin Na, Vaughn Taylor is pretty tough to do. But Brian Harman is a play that I do like quite a bit. He would be the first or second guy around that price point that I'd want to roster, just because his recent form is really starting to come around. 4 straight made cuts. He does have fine course history. It's not great. T39, miscut, T24, and T58. I do like him as a play, and if we're looking at that secondary data poll that I did, his proximity is top 15, top 10 this week of players that are playing this week. And then his, let me see it. His strokes gain total is solid right now. He could be a little bit better strokes gain off the tee, but I do like Brian Harman quite a bit as a play this week. He seems a little bit less risky than someone like Kokrak, Connors, or Daniel Berger as well. Keegan Bradley is definitely going to be more hit or miss. Definitely going to be a good GPP play. Don't mind that though. All right, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to move on to, let's see here, the FanDuel plays. But if you guys have more questions, just keep firing them off and I'll answer them. But specifically for FanDuel, there are some players that really stood out to me. The first one's going to be the guy we just talked about, Brian Harman. Priced at 9.3K. He is priced down compared to the other players around his price point. So, you know, that's going to be a nice discount play for you on FanDuel this week, I think. So if you guys play them both, that's where I would get my ownership to. Brian Harman is on FanDuel. Cameron Tringale is a value play that I like pretty much across the board, and so is Brian Stewart. So typically, FanDuel will have a couple of mispriced plays compared to DraftKings. I typically don't like to risk it as much on FanDuel, so I'd probably stick away from Tringale and Stewart on FanDuel. But if you guys were trying to go that route, you can definitely do that. Hadwin and McCarthy are both values on FanDuel as well. All right, so getting into the Yahoo plays. So Yahoo's pretty nice this week. They have been doing a tremendous driver price in the last 3 weeks, I've noticed. But we do get Bubba Watson at a really nice discount compared to other people around his price point. Then Daniel Berger is really cheap as well, 26 for him. I really like that price point. Keegan Bradley, that's where I'll be getting my shares of him as well, 29 on Yahoo. Russell Knox is still pretty cheap on Yahoo. And then Ryan Moore. So Ryan Moore is a great GPP play, but I'm getting a ton of my shares to him on Yahoo. Now, I typically don't play as much on Yahoo or FanDuel, and I'm not doing that this week. But the lineups that I am playing on Yahoo, I do have Ryan Moore. So his course history is okay. Miscut, T61, and T11. Other than that, though, he's a great stat fit. All the stats that we're looking at this week, he's pretty much T60 or better. So we really like that. We really like the recent form of Ryan Moore as well. So he makes for a great GPP play. And specifically, stat speaking, he is pretty much the same stat fit as that other value play that I mentioned in DraftKings. That's Harry Higgs. So him and Harry Higgs are essentially the same stat fit. Now, obviously, they're different players, but I just wanted to put that into perspective for you guys there. I am curious. There was someone last week that was asking me on DraftKings about a value play around the 6K range last week. He wanted a play. I gave him John Huh. I don't even know if that's how you say it yet, but I'm curious if that person's in the chat and if they played him and if that lineup was successful, because I had quite a few studs and dud lineups last week that did pretty well just because I was forced to play the value plays, and the value plays all pretty much hit. There isn't, and I like him this week as well. That's kind of why I'm bringing him up. So he's made 4 straight cuts at this event. Nothing great. I'll go over some sleeper picks. Well, what do you want, sleeper picks or value picks? There's kind of a difference, I guess. To me, a sleeper is a value pick, which I'm about to touch on here. But if you want something a little bit different, let me know. All right, hey Joshua, did you play him? Just curious. But yeah, this week I like him as well. Made 4 straight cuts at this event. Made 4 straight cuts in a row. Don't mind him. All right, going over the questions. Got Green here. Oh, so actually I like, if we have to go lower than John Huh at 6.4K, I like Chris Kirk. I don't love him, but he's fine. Chris Kirk has made 4 straight cuts at this event. I don't know if you guys know the backstory around him, but he really suffered from a drinking problem last year. Seems like he's bounced back quite a bit. His recent form isn't great, but I don't mind him as a play this week. Obviously, I don't want to go that low. I don't mind Nick Taylor as well. He's fine, but Brian Stewart, if we're going below Harry Higgs, I probably just want to roll with him. Yeah, so below 6.7, I'm going to go with Brian Stewart. Just seems like a solid play. He's just underpriced this week. 3 straight made cuts at this event. Obviously, we know his form from the fall was really phenomenal. 9 straight made cuts in a row, so I do like him. Trying to make sure I didn't miss any questions. Oh, yeah. Xander burned a lot of people last week. That was pretty shocking for Xander to miss the cut. He struggled. He should be a fine play this week. I just don't want to pay up for a guy that really struggled last week. Where, so like him and Gary Woodland were pretty much different. Gary Woodland's round was pretty much ruined by, 1 shot on 1 hole, or tournament was ruined by 1 shot on 1 hole. Whereas Xander really just couldn't piece together, good shot after good shot. It seemed like he was struggling a lot more. All right, let's go back to Josh's first question. Do you target a certain low price for cash? So for cash, earlier on in the year, it was a little bit more difficult because the DraftKings, FanDuel, they didn't do that good of a job pricing. Which you could probably tell just because of like the most optimal lineup was typically leaving like $5,000 on the board, which was really crazy. But now that we're getting into the thick of it, they're getting a lot better with pricing. So typically for cash, I do like to stick in that 9K to 7.5K range each week. It's a little bit different, but for the most part, like even last week, if you had just played players from the 8K range there, the mid-tier range, I think all but one of them made the cut. So that's typically the best strategy to go with in cash. And GPPs, you can kind of just do whatever and just make pivots from your cash build, because your cash build should essentially be your best lineup that you're submitting that week. Let's see here. Trying to get to all the questions. Who do you like more for GPP, Gary Woodland or Matt Kuchar? So I like Gary Woodland a lot more than Matt Kuchar. Matt Kuchar, he's just struggling. He reminds me a lot of Jordan Spieth last year, where we know he's a great player and we know that most likely they're going to make the cut and have a pretty solid finish. It just seems like he's struggling a lot more this year than he was last year or previous years. His stats really don't line up as well. He's not driving the ball as well, and he's not ball striking the ball as well. So I'd much rather go with Gary Woodland, $100 cheaper. That's not a big price discount. Matt Kuchar does have 3 straight top 10 finishes here, but like I said, that was because he was always checking the boxes stat fit wise. He's not exactly doing that this week. He's been struggling this year. And Gary Woodland, he had a T7, first, miscut T33. So kind of mixed results, but I do like Gary Woodland a little bit more this week. I know if we're going to be like talking about ownership, I think Kuchar will be slightly lower owned. So if you want to go that route, you could, but I think Woodland's going to be the safer play this week. All right, I don't believe we have any more questions. I'm going to wrap up here. let's see. Yeah, thanks for submitting all the questions, though, guys, this week. It really helps to make it go better and easier. I do want to mention Kevin Na here one more time. He's been catching my eye a little bit more as the week goes on. 4 straight made cuts at this event. I do like his price point. The problem with him this week is that I like Harmon, Berger, and Knox a little bit more. But I do have some ownership to him in GPPs. His recent form is pretty solid as well. Has made 5 straight cuts. All right, just want to touch over the membership page as well. The link is in the description below. It's $10 a month. Gets you the sample build, player pool, cash plays, and stat model. Even last week, the information that I gave was great, even though my core plays, Gary Woodland and Lanto Griffin, missed the cut. Let's say you pivot off of one of them. You pretty much had a solid week there. Overall, the message was cash, which it is this week. That was right. Building from that mid-tier and then doing the studs and duds approach. Even with a rough week last week, it was still pretty solid. Before that, it was really on point. So if you guys want to join that, link's in the description below. $10 a month for that. Pretty good value across the board in the industry. All right, that's all I have for you guys this week. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. Going to be keeping this going, throughout the year, especially on full tournament field events. Like I said earlier in the video, I will be submitting a Twitter post probably on Wednesday morning to go over questions that you guys want answered on the live stream. So look for that on the Twitter pages.